Hello, this is Alan Wheeler on my YouTube channel where I talk about spirituality and tarot. And today I'm going to let the Druidcraft tarot deck, I've drawn some cards to discuss um, how to start a new religion. And that's a little tongue-in-cheek, that's a little bit of a joke. Um, I'm more thinking about creating your own spiritual path, walking your own path. Um, but on the religious forums where I've frequented, I have seen people talk about starting a new religion. As recently as the 1950s, of course, Wicca began when Gardner brought together components of mainstream religions and put them together with his own Wiccan Rede and the holidays, the theology with the god and the goddess, daily practices, and brought that all together in what is now a recognized religion. So it's not that it's impossible, but I'm more or less talking about things to consider if you're putting together your own spiritual practice or walking your own path. Something on my heart as I've been expanding um, into new realms in my spiritual life. So, what I'm thinking about is a kind of a coordinate plane with an X and Y axis. And in the center, I think, is the focus or identity. And at some point, we may settle on what that is. So if you're joining a fandom, there's going to be something that's the focus of that, whether it's Star Trek or Buffy the Vampire Slayer or what have you. And so your identity, you may come to identify as a witch or identify as a pagan and so on. And that becomes kind of a stabilizing uh, part of a spiritual path. Um, on the vertical axis, I'm picturing the at the bottom kind of the rootedness in some kind of um, lore. Now, some may object and say, no, I have no book or doctrine that I follow, but um, I remember hearing Kellyanne Maddox talk about you have people of the book, like Jewish people who follow the Torah. Um, and she said, but she's with people of the library. So it may be that you have a eclectic collection of lore, or you keep your own journal, your own book of shadows, your own grimoire. Again, I remember hearing uh, Aini Orga say she longed to have some kind of source material to look to. And so that kind of read that Gardner put together for the Wiccans, a code, um, maybe not a creed, or, but some kind of lore um, that kind of grounds the pathway in some way. Now, the going up that vertical axis, um, I see personal devotion of some kind. Now, that may just be a practice. It could be altar work or magical workings. Um, it might be prayer or spiritual disciplines, meditation, um, but some kind of outgrowth of that lore around that centerpiece. That again, that center focus could be a deity. It could be a identity of. It could be magic itself. Um, just the magical practice, could be that centerpiece. Now, horizontally, I see kind of the social aspect in a way. Um, and so the more internal, vertical, and some will say, no, I'm on a solitary path. There's no social element. But I would say probably in some sense there may be. There's some kind of awareness, at least, of, um, if not guides or counsel, um, or online community or something. Uh, there's some kind of awareness. I think if someone is truly solitary, we'll never know about it. It's like that tree that falls in the forest. It may exist, but we'll never know. Um, so there may be no formal belonging to a exoteric kind of coven or something, but there may be an awareness of what's going on in the spiritual world. Um, Regardless, on one side, you would have that um, kind of discussion with others or awareness of others. And on the other side of that horizontal axis, I would see um, service or expression. Um, and so uh, that could be offerings or blog posts or some kind of expression, wearing of jewelry or tattoos that shows the kind of as within, so without. And again, that may not be evangelistic or pronounced, but it may be low key, but it may be a part in some manner. Again, this is all food for thought, and it's if it's only there for disagreement, that's good food for thought. So I drew 3 cards randomly earlier, so I'd have some time to sit with them and think about them. And I drew these from the Druidcraft Tarot again. And the first one was the Prince of Wands, rather. And you can see him charging out in that fiery energy. And I see that as that fresh fire. And I think it's the aspect of the question, starting something new. And that's going to be a honeymoon period where there's a lot of excitement and first love and warm fuzzies, perhaps. And so that's should be tapped into. That's much needed. The danger is that there's burnout, that there is no root established, and so that can sustain for a time, but put that energy to good use. I would say the next card that I drew was the World. And this is kind of that comprehensive synthesis as we see everything coming together. And it's kind of that peak experience, that mountaintop experience. Here the figure is on top of the world, literally, and this mandala-like wreath around her, the glowing aura around her head, shows this is the kind of experiencing what is most high. And I couldn't have asked for a better card to describe a spiritual path. We see in this version all the magical tools are coming together here. The knife and the grail, the pentacle and the wand. And so this is almost a picture of this coordinate plane that I'm describing, making sure everything comes together, all the components. And the last card I drew was death. And again, I thought it was very appropriate for the question. Here's the crone wisdom. We see the Celtic goddess here holding a skull above the cauldron, and we get that picture of the transformation and the new beginning. There's the serpent up here who will shed the old skin and lose what no longer serves. The eagle in the sky here, the guidebook takes the number 13, adds 1 and 3 to get 4, and associates this card with the Emperor. It does the same thing for the World card, 2 plus 1, and associates this card with the Empress. So I thought that was interesting that the Emperor and Empress energies both come together here in this spread. Some closing thoughts on the Death card as an answer to this question about a spiritual path. And one is that oftentimes initiation can be seen as death. So when we take on a new identity, we let the old go and let the new come. So it's sometimes a card that pictures that initiation, kind of that baptism that washes away the old. And so that's a good picture of religion. Also, one of the classic functions of religion is to is to be with us in that hour of death. And so even if there's not an afterlife envisioned, it's that all comforting presence and that peace that attends us through, and death kind of gives that picture of the complete life and what is beyond. So very nice spread to give food for thought. And so that's how the tarot is telling us how to start a new religion or how to start out on a new spiritual path. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you find connection with people in your life, with online community, and on your spiritual path, whatever that might be. Take care.